Hi there, and welcome to my channel. The channel that I describe as always evolving, always work in progress. And I've gotten a little more insight, I believe, at least for me, into how this channel or what direction it's headed, or maybe a better way to even describe to myself where I think this channel might be headed. So my interest and where my passion lies right now at this time, when I strongly believe, as others do, that we're in a time of change and shift and evolution and who knows what as a human species, we're up against some challenges, no doubt. And so at this time, what I find for myself, and I know others are, some others are feeling the same way as I listen to other YouTube channels out there. Where my interest lies is in really the exploration and the curiosity of our inner landscape, the inner world. Our humanness, what is that really? What could we get more curious about? What can we explore? And when exploring means really almost the same as curiosity, perhaps, but to explore on a deeper level, in a way, what makes this humanness tick, how does this work in a way? How does this all happen? And how did we get from there to here now? I'm not looking for exact answers because truly I believe there are none. But I think the curiosity, the exploring of this human thing we're in, can reveal insights, reveal information that perhaps we've just not heard before. We weren't ready to hear it. Who knows? But it is a way to really, why not, discover who we are. I look at life sometimes and I think, we know so much about everything else except the inner workings of this humanness. We're not taught about it in school. I guess you could say we can be taught about the anatomy of the body, things like that, but not this deeper look into who are we? And, what are we doing here exactly? That curiosity of what is this all about? Instead, we learn all the history of the United States, and in this case, because that's where I live, is in the U.S. I'm sure it's similar to in other countries. We learn all the outer stuff, all the facts and researches, maybe research that's been done about all the different happenings in the outer world. But that keeps us far away from our inner being. And maybe because we think we're all so different, maybe that would be like, well, how do you have a class on in the inner landscape or the inner world? Well, obviously those exist, particularly for people that are studying psychology and move into those professions. But I'm talking about a really in-depth curiosity on very basic things. That's why I keep talking about speaking with and having a conversation with everyday people, just like you and me, about what is our experience of our inner world, and asking the questions, where do all these beliefs come from, and then how are they really affecting our lives and or our experience, this human experience. See, I think we have so much in common in how we really tend to, at a very basic level, function as humans. And I think that by learning more about our inner landscape, and asking the questions about this whole humanist thing, is where we can get some incredible insights and ideas of maybe how to really navigate through this time. And that's where, again, I really feel that having conversations with others, people just like you and me, as I keep repeating, will help us get that insight. Rather than complicate it, keep it simple, you know? And simple means what is your experience like, or what is somebody else's experience like? I spoke the other day about, where did these thoughts come from that are always in our head that seem to be communicating to us through some way. It's not through really a particular voice, but we call it the voice in our head. What's that all about? You know? In other words, we've been on this planet, I don't know how long, as humans, having these different experiences, but we tend to think we're different from one another, or there's this separation thing that's gone in, or separation of religions, or tribes, or all of the different ways that things can show up on Earth. But basically, we're human species. That's what we are. And I feel we just don't really know much about this. And I think it's a personal experience. It's a personal journey on one level, but on another level, it's a shared journey because we are of this species. We're the human species. That's it. And I think we've hit a spot and a time where we really need to learn more about us. And that's where this whole idea of conversation comes in for me. Can we just share how do we handle particular things, or what about all the beliefs that we might have? Yeah, they may be different, but basically I think they kind of go down the same road. They just may sound like a different story. But what about those beliefs and how they manifest themselves in the outer world? How do we walk through this time with some sort of insight, or some sort of okayness, not being in fear, in other words? Because I think if we're in fear, which a lot of people are right now, we're lost in la la land, because the fear is what is taking over any kind of insights we could have. So I believe so strongly that yes, if we could start to share our stories we've all had different challenges, we do, and probably more so in this more recent times than ever before. And maybe sharing what we've learned or how we've gotten insights, etc. Doesn't mean we have to be an awakened or an enlightened person, whatever that means. I mean, I think there are enlightened people, they're obviously masters, but there's also many of us that are gradually, and I think most of us, do a gradual of waking up. Obviously, there's people out there that have absolutely no interest in the inner workings of one's world. And they're mostly focused on the outer world, on the power, or the making money, or who knows what. Doesn't matter. There's no judgment here. But then there are also many, many more of us that are starting to enter into this world of this, what I call the inner landscape, or the inner world. In fact, more and more today, and I think for two reasons. Let me explain it. Because of the technology we have right now, where YouTube is so available to speak our whatever, I was going to say speak our truths. Well, I guess it is. We're speaking what we think is true. More and more individuals are coming forward with the seeking and the looking into this kind of mystical world, if you will, or the mystery of who are we. There's some individuals that I've heard most recently with very impressive resumes. Some are coming out of technology, some are coming out of building certain businesses. They're all over the place, and they're sharing their interest or their experiences. It could be with UFOs and aliens and what they've learned and they're studying now, and they come with credibility in a sense because they're they've been on the main track. They've been in the mainstream. But on a side, they'd had these experiences or these things they wanted to explore outside of what we could call mainstream. So it could be UFOs, it could be just an inner guiding, inner world. There's a guy I listened to yesterday that talks about the science of kindness and caring. And this individual also has a very impressive resume. He started several companies. He's that are well-known companies, and so very successful in the mainstream, but has had this kind of draw toward the inner world. In fact, had as a young person, had a rather early awakening, if you will, where he kind of saw through the false self and saw through some of the illusions that we have here. And so even with that, though, he still continued to create businesses. One of the things that he realized was we create our reality. We can do anything we want if we're tuned into that part of who we are, right? So he wasn't coming from ego. He wasn't coming from power. He was coming from a very much of a creative manifestation type of idea, type of being. And now at this point in his life, as a retired gentleman of, I believe he said he was 75, he's on a mission to really help people become more aware of kindness and caring, and how to be able to put that out there in the world, how to be able to use this, what he calls science of kindness and caring, meaning it does a lot of positive things when we're coming from that energy, from that emotion as well. And that struck me very much about also, what am I doing? My question was to me, what am I doing with this YouTube thing? And I think that's what I'm doing, is really just contributing in the best way I know how, or the best way that maybe resonates with me. And that is through these YouTube videos. And I started the YouTube channel about, I don't know, several months before the pandemic hit. I didn't go back to look how long before that, but maybe 4 months, 5 months before the pandemic hit and we were quarantined, etc. And at some point, right around the beginning of the pandemic, maybe around the time that we were quarantined, I don't remember, I stopped doing these videos because I felt that I wasn't being authentic. I wasn't really in touch with what it was that I was wanting to express. And I think I was more of parroting people that I listened to, rather than letting my own guides guide me and my own insights and intuitions coming through. And so I just thought, this is not, I'm going to stop doing this because it doesn't feel right. And then what happened, looking back, is it was perfect to have stopped doing that, because what that allowed me to do is I really got into looking into my inner world. And, I definitely used different teachers on YouTube. I worked with one in one-on-one basis through Zoom, where we would have our talks. And so I was in a very serious, deeply rooted in a way inside of me, exploration and curiosity of this whole thing of knowing my humanness. I don't know what else to call it. And learned a lot about myself. It was not an easy time. It was a very challenging time. Many things came up that I not realized were stored in my body, the traumas and the dramas. It was painful. It was painful having to go through reliving them, and that's what was happening, so I could release them. So it was more than a challenging time for me, a very, very difficult time in a way. I was felt exhausted all the time with all that was happening through me. By reliving these things, I also felt like I was going completely crazy, like why am I having all this shit coming up now? I mean, I've been through years and years of therapy. I started therapy when I was 19. And I'm thinking, why is this stuff, why am I reliving all these things? But the point is, why, is because I really got clear on the effect and impact it had taken on me, and how I had stored so much of this trauma in my body, and then to learn how to begin to release that energy, because that's what it is. It's all energy. But it definitely took me down a rabbit hole, a major ride on a roller coaster type ride of ups and downs, and feeling insane and feeling like I didn't want to be here anymore. You name it, I went through it. And finally, then, not so many months ago, I kind of come out the other side of this. And part of it is through releasing quite a bit of energy that was stored. I'm not saying I'm done with it. I still get triggered, but I'm much better at being able to identify those triggers, and that's what I speak about a lot on these videos. And I got involved in my automatic writing, which let me really get back in touch with my guides, which I'd been in touch with since I was a very young child. So I that was that period of time that, for me it was about a 3-year period. And I'm not done with that, but I'm definitely got to a different level. So that kind of explains too maybe why, what I'm feeling about this channel. And again, I don't know where it's going. If it just helps one person, that's cool. And if it helps nobody, that's cool. I don't know. It's going to take me on the journey. I'm not taking it. So I'm very much a part of me being taken on the journey. I am very curious of, like I said, our inner landscape. And that's basically it. It's pretty simple. And like I said, for right now, it does feel like that would be, there would be a good result possibly, or at least it's a good reason to want to have conversations with others in this exploration of what it is that where we're at right now and what we can learn from each other. So I felt compelled to do just a video on this part. I've mentioned before, when I do these videos, it helps me get clarity for where I'm at, and that's important for me, obviously, and it might mean something to somebody else. So by speaking out with this, then I believe that's part of my evolution, and part of where perhaps this channel is headed. It came to mind, particularly as I've been listening to some of these individuals, like I said, that have very impressive resumes in the outer world and the mainstream. And I've thought to myself, if somebody asked me, well, what do you do, Sue, or what have you been doing, particularly in family, because nobody knows I do this YouTube thing. Normally I just say, not much or whatever. I don't speak about my inner work, hardly ever. And I thought, why? And I think I realized because I don't want to have to go through the feeling like I'm needing to over-explain something, or I'm going to be looked at like weird or crazy, or trying to try to over-explain what I do to try to get so that I can get somebody to nod their head at least and say, oh, okay, rather than have that look of I don't think you're well. And now I've thought, you know what? I think it's not healthy for me to feel I need to hide what I'm doing. I don't need, but here's the deal. The only way I can be able to answer the question, if someone should ask, honestly, is if I'm not attached to the outcome. In other words, I will need to give up the idea that I want somebody either to understand what I'm doing, or I want them to supported in a certain way, or I think my big thing is I want to be understood, so that I would then get into my over explanation, and then I'll have all kinds of stories going on in my head about it and so forth. So I'm working on this idea of expressing the truth of what I'm doing, but releasing, or if I, and really understanding, watching to see, am I attached to a certain outcome? And right now I think I am. Yeah, I'm still definitely attached to at least the outcome of not somebody thinking I'm crazy. And so I have to move into, it's okay if somebody thinks I'm crazy. That's fine. I can say the words, but emotionally, I don't know that I'm there, or I know I'm not quite there. But anyway, I'm aware. That's the point. I'm aware of the situation. I'm aware what I'm feeling, and that, again, by listening to some of these accredited people, I'll say, it does give me more courage to talk about what I'm really doing with this YouTube. Should someone ask, I'm not looking to share this on my own with somebody. There's no point in it unless this conversation came up, or something that seemed in alignment with this idea. But I mean, otherwise, no, that's not where I'm headed, to try to explain or try to recruit people, or any of that. That's not it. So it's more of, like I said, if somebody asks, which because of COVID, we haven't been in very many social situations. In fact, hardly any. I think I mentioned before in a video that my husband and I have really held back until more recent times, very recent, of really getting involved in gatherings and, you know, that type of thing. I think I was living a lot in some fear, and I had to release that, and the whole thing about wearing the mask or not, and yada yada. So I think, though, we've moved past the fear and more into an okay place of, okay, we don't need to be isolating for that reason. So, and some of the other isolating is just really being careful of who, and I don't want to say who we spend time with, but really discovering what's most important. And I think we've all been through some amazing and difficult challenges during the COVID period of time. We've lost friends and relatives, etc. I think it's caused many of us to really go within. I think that's a result of COVID, which is a good thing, because that's where a lot of the people that I listen to have experienced more of an inner understanding, or an inner, I don't know what to call it, inner way of looking at life. Let's say that. So, it feels a little bit like a complicated time. For me, it feels like a place, everything has shifted in a way I've never experienced before. It is a waking up of a certain level of experience, and causes me to have this curiosity, and to really want to question what's it all about on many, many levels. So I think there's nothing else to really say about this, at least not right now. Hope that it makes sense. Hope that I got some kind of point across, although, I never know that I really do, but certainly that's my intention. And maybe some of you that are listening can have kind of resonate a little bit with what I'm saying. And, now my little commercial, if you find this idea of appealing and would like to have a conversation with me based on what I've just talked about, the inner world, your inner world, or your experiences, then my contact information is right below this video. So definitely click on that and give me a holler, and let's see where we can go from there. In the meantime, if you've listened to this, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And if you like this video, click like. Hopefully you subscribe to my channel. That would be great. If you are inspired to leave a comment, I would love to hear some comments. That would be excellent. So please feel free to leave a comment. And in the meantime, until next time, which is sooner than later because I'm doing a lot more videos on a regular basis, so I'm ahead of the game. You know, I think right now I've got a week's worth of videos already done, so that's helpful for me. So that I don't feel like I've got to do a video because I want to get it out there. It's more, you know, there's a schedule and it's working for me. So with that, I'll go ahead and sign off, reminding, like I always do, to be kind to yourself and kind to others, or at least working with that idea. You know, I think I'll put the link down below this video of the guy I listened to that talks about the science of kindness and caring. He was an amazing interview, a really neat guy, had a lot of insight, and but yet very practical, very down to earth. Yeah, that was a good interview. So I will put that link below this video for any of you that might like to listen to that. So, like I said, until next time, do take care, and we'll see you soon. And we're going to click this video off. I'm going to see if I can do it in one time, okay?